Hello, everyone. This is Stacey Rogers, candidate for governor of Kansas, and I am doing a series on questions that were asked at the debate by this is an independent newspaper that wanted my answers, and so I'm going to provide them for you. And this question is the marijuana question. And you know what? I already know that my answer is completely different from everyone else's, and I'm going to explain. I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to tell you. It's a long answer, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to see if I can adjust my camera a little bit. Okay. In the past few weeks, President Donald Trump has reclassified marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, now allowing the research of marijuana for potential medical benefits. As of right now, Kansas is only one of 2 states nationwide that is yet to legalize marijuana for medical or recreational purpose. Idaho is the other. As governor, would you support and advocate for the legalization of marijuana in some form? And here's my response. We are not in a position any longer of if it will be legalized, but when. I worked in pharmacy for 15 years, and when President Trump moved the classification from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, that was the absolute safest decision he could have made in order to protect people from the negative aspects of legalization. The fact is, Kansas does not have the infrastructure to protect its citizens. Not from the drug itself, that's not what we're talking about here, but the negative effects that can come with legalization regarding entities that could take advantage of people and the ability of children to have access to the drug. There are some key issues that we have not fully addressed, such as the ability for foreign entities to purchase our land. While this has been addressed in part of the state, it has not been passed to cover the entire state, and entities already owning such property in Kansas has also not been addressed. In addition, no movement has been made by the state to put any sort of preemptive regulations in place in the event of if national legalization were to occur, and we should be protecting our citizens first. In addition, the path for this to now pass through a doctor and a pharmacy where patients can be monitored for effectiveness of the drug is the most desirable to me. Self-medication, which is happening now either through a legal means or through the barely legal options available, such as Delta 8, with no hard data on whether it is providing the desired outcome, is something we have the opportunity to research and develop into a product that can help those with PTSD, seizures, cancer, and more. Although there is currently a synthetic available by prescription and has been available for many years, its ability to address all of the above mentioned is limited as it contains only part of the plant, thereby limiting the full benefits that could be seen if further researched. This is the only way that I would be comfortable in any way with legalization, but the fact remains that we are simply one president or one governor away from free for all legalization, and the state has simply not made any advances to protect its people from this outcome. Further, I am going to expand just a little bit further. A lot of times people ask me, why don't we just treat it like alcohol? We can't. There is not a current test that can actively or show precisely that someone is actively high. Sure, there are some things like, are your eyes glassy? I don't know. Those things would not hold up in court. You need to have an actual in the field test to be able to prove that someone is actively high on the job or while operating a motor vehicle. Those things do not currently exist, to my knowledge, today. That is also what research would provide. And then standards would need to be put in place to protect. However, I want to point something out. They talk about, well, we could just do a blood test. We could just do this. But if you have somebody who is medicating with marijuana for, let's say, chronic pain, well, chronic pain, they're probably going to be taking it a lot more than someone that might be taking it once a week. They might be taking it daily or multiple times a day. There's 2 issues with that. First of all, when it comes to pretty much any drug, you start to build a tolerance to it. So your behaviors would not reflect necessarily that you were actively using the substance, and your blood levels would certainly measure much higher than if you were an occasional or lesser user of that medication. So again, that would not necessarily indicate whether you could show that someone was actively high. Okay, so I think that there are some places that we can go with this. What I don't want to see are the things that have happened in Colorado and Oklahoma. I don't want that in our state. When you have people that are moving away from a state because of the bad things that are happening due to not the drug necessarily, but the other things that go along with it, because maybe the system was not set up correctly. And again, I think what President Trump did was the absolute safest thing to protect citizens. Then I just do not want to see it in our state where we have our citizens being harmed because of the lack of infrastructure and legislation. And our state has simply been silent on that. So that's my answer on that. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon.